First, obviously, the European economy has recovered and is doing much better, I would say. Well, we're out of the crisis, we're now recovering, and we are even in an expansionary position. Growth is now over 2% on average. Our public deficits are now limited. Our public debt is diminishing. We never had so many people in employment in Europe. Unemployment rates are now at their pre-crisis level, which is still too much. Our banking sector is stronger, and we have built some tools during the crisis to address the issues such as the European Stability Mechanism or the Stability and Growth Pact. So obviously, economically, we are in much better shape than we used to be. But still, legacies of the crisis are there. There are scars in all our territories through inequalities, through the fact that a lot of people feel leftovers from globalization, and they are looking for solutions. And this is certainly one of the reasons why, if we are out of the economic crisis, we have entered into a political crisis, especially the rise of populism, of illegal democracy, which is unprecedented since World War II, and which is a challenge for all EU politicians. How can we deliver to face that? When this commission came into office, it was in November of 2014, our diagnosis was that the engines of growth were not all functioning. Consumption was okay, exports was very strong, investment was down, and we had an investment gap, and we needed to fill this gap. That's why we decided to launch an initiative called the Juncker Plan, or the Strategic Investment Plan, led by the EIB, European Investment Bank, under the control of the Commission, which led to the fact that we have had 335 billion euros investment, which are additional investment to what would have happened without the plan. So it is a huge success that we are going to follow up. We are going to follow it up until 2020. It will be 500 billions. And then we are going to transform it in the next sequence of the budgets for the Union into a new tool that we call InvestEU, which will also be dedicated to investing in Africa and with the Africans, because for all lot of reasons, we need absolutely to be sitting nearby Africa for its own development. So yes, this Juncker Plan is a success. It has delivered. We must build on that, not only to reduce the investment gap, but to reconquer leadership in innovation, in research, and these will be new priorities of the future InvestEU tool.
Are these mostly public sector investments or corporate sector also?
No, the Juncker Plan is as well public and private, and it's mostly private. It's private generally and public only when necessary. But through that, we have financed as well some infrastructure projects, and we can do more on that. Let's think about, for example, railroads in Italy. There is a need there, or motor roads. We need to finance that. And on the other side, we finance a lot of private projects. Some are big and some are small. A lot of SMEs or SMEs projects benefited from the Juncker Plan. So I think it's really targeted on the productive and private economy. On taxation, we have got limited competencies due to the fact that decisions are taken by unanimity rule, which is obviously something which creates some limits. But we've made huge progress. We've probably acted more in the last 4 years than in 20 years before on fighting tax fraud and tax evasion. Why? I hope because the Commission has shown leadership, and I tried as a Commissioner to do that, but mostly because the international context has changed due to the FATCA legislation here in the US, due to the action of G20 and OECD with the BEPS procedure. We've done a lot. We've established the automatic exchange of information on bank accounts, on tax rulings. We've had a vote on 2 directives to avoid tax fraud and tax avoidance, to fight tax fraud and tax avoidance. We've established transparency for the intermediaries. We have created country-by-country reporting, and I hope we will make it public in the future. We've got some initiatives on the table still on VAT, on corporate tax, and also in the field of digital taxation. And the last challenge for me in this Commission's life is to find a good agreement, a good compromise on digital taxation. We cannot accept, the Europeans cannot accept, the public opinion cannot accept, the NGOs cannot accept, citizens cannot accept that those internet giants don't pay their fair share of tax where they create profit and value. This is why there are two proposals on the table. One is to try to define what digital presence is, not only physical presence. And for these internet companies, digital presence is the key point. And the other one is to have a modest, symbolic, but also real turnover tax on the activities of those companies up to 3%, which will, by consequence, bring also something like 5 to 8 billion euros to the public treasury, and that will also be helpful for the policies we lead. The euro as such is a tremendous success. It has brought stability to those countries who share the euro, and this is why the citizens are so attached to the euro, including in some countries which I would say have a more Eurosceptic public opinion. The Greeks chose the euro. The Italians are attached to the euro. Whoever governs those countries, it is a very strong source of protection. But you cannot have a monetary union if you don't have at the same time a fiscal union and a political union. This is why going on with the reforms of the Eurozone is so decisive. And we have now a discussion on several kind of reforms. First, how can we give a backstop to the Single Resolution Fund in order to complete the banking union and to make our banks more secure? How can we decide on a deposit insurance scheme? And I hope that our German friends won't be reluctant on that. How to strengthen the role of the economic European Stability Mechanism, which is a powerful tool to combat crisis. And finally, and this is to me absolutely essential, how can we build a Eurozone budget? And the day we have a Eurozone budget, we also will need to have more democratic governance through a finance minister of the Eurozone and through a control by the European Parliament, but this is for later. Let's concentrate on building a Eurozone budget. And this has to be discussed, and I hope decided, before the end of this year, 2018, because after that we will enter into the electoral year and things will be more delicate. And that's why we need to dedicate some energy to that. The Eurozone reform are key if we want to combat populism, because they are the only way to recreate convergence inside the euro area. Divergences, inequalities are the root causes of populism.